The Black Anglo-Saxon coming to you real quick. No King's protests. And I'm going to touch on this because I've had a full-fledged video on YouTube already about this. And it saddens me that we stand here today and from what I see that we still don't understand. We still haven't learned. So I'm going to bring in some visuals to kind of maybe help people to understand what it is that I'm saying when I'm trying to have this discussion around why these things matter. And the No Kings protest is a protest against what? Keep that in mind as I move forward. Now, words matter because are we in kingship or oligarchy? And that's important because the different stress points and the different cracks, the different chinks in the armor are different for each mechanism, for each infrastructure, for each institution. And this is the visual aid that I'm gonna use today for y'all. So what I have, because I know all my people love to talk about chess versus checkers, and that's a bad example because for what it's worth, chess and checkers are both asymmetrical games. And it does not give you the dynamic that we're in, and you don't have a good understanding for the relationship into what it is that we're doing. And this is going to all make sense. But you see, this is a traditional chessboard, right? So both pieces, both sides, whether you're white or black, line up the same. Everybody's familiar with that, right? The rules and the games are very much so the same for how you move the pieces, how you advance, how you capture, right? So let's think of this. We have a square here, right? And this is what I want. It's not checkers, right? And so me and my son, we love this, right? Because this is Hoffentafel. For those of you all who can't see, this is Hoffentafel. Hoffentafel is Viking chess, right? And for those who, if you're not familiar with the game, this game is very much different in terms of the regular chess. And it is different in large part because, as you'll see, the pieces, depending on the side that you're playing, depending on the team that you choose, you have black and you have brown pieces, similar to regular chess, but you move differently depending on which side you're on. And you also have to capture differently based on which side you're on. And the objective of the game is different based on which side you're on. So I ask again, are we going against an oligarchy or are we going against a kingship? And that is important because words are important. The etymology of words are important, which is the history, the understanding of where words start, where they transition, and where they end up. Because if we are dealing with a kingship, then that means that we've already lost democracy and we are not fighting for democracy. And this no kings protest, I have stressed over time that you have to understand that these are glitches in the system that have already been patched because protest and the way that it's being done is not as effective as a mechanism as it was when we were in the civil rights era, when we were in the 80s, 90s, etc. As we transition to the 2000s, protest has taken on a different meaning. And I assure you that when you are in the No Kings protest, walking with the court, and when I say the court, I'm talking about the aristocracy, the top 10% who serves the 1%. So when you see these entertainers, these high level elected officials who've already presented as captured pieces on the board, you are walking with the court itself. You're walking with, again, if we're talking about kingship, that's its court. If we're talking about oligarchy, we're talking about people that are captured within institutions, but those institutions have safe valves. And that's why we don't see it. And that's why we don't see the progress, because you're not operating and you're not defining what you're actually doing. I am not a content creator. I am a political scientist who wants to use this platform to help bring a level of education, understanding, and discernment to the people so that I can eventually begin to build infrastructure and institutions that actually bring structural change. Because right now, I do not have that. I do not see that in the people. I cannot organize with people who do not understand that it is important to identify specifically what you are actually engaging. If you've ever been to a community meeting, if you've ever been on a part of a task force, you will notice that at the beginning of the meeting or the task force, everybody goes around and they say their name and they say their title and they say what they're good at. The reason that you do that, the reason why that is important is because you have to identify who's in the room, what they are capable of, so you can leverage the skill sets and deploy them in the most maximal way possible. And you also have to have an understanding who is and can do what and who also understands what, because everybody is not an active participant. Some people are just intellectual channels that add value in ways of research, acumen, and being able to assess the terrain. And you have to do that. You have to use words in a specific way. We cannot continue to go about a no kings have these protests, but at the same time, we want to call ourselves kings and queens. I've said this in the past too, because are you against imperialism or are you not? And people might say, oh, well, I don't mean anything by it. Well, you may not mean anything by it, but continuing to call yourself a king and queen takes on a life and an element in itself. And when I talk about siphoning, I need everyone to understand perfectly, accurately what I'm hearing. And if you don't care, if you think I'm crazy, you could just keep on scrolling, because this is not for everybody. This is for people who really want to understand, who kind of see it and is like, what are the things that are clicking? What is it that I'm not getting? When you have these protests, when you have these demonstrations, we must understand that all 24 hours are the same is a myth. Your 24 hours on the face, on the surface, in a superficial way, yes, is the same. But a person who has access to resources, institutions, and the ability to delegate assignments operate in a completely different time frame than you do, especially when those people have the ability to access information that it allows them to advance levels ahead of you without having to do said work. Because again, this is not a conversation about not working hard, but what I want you to understand is that, yes, we work hard, but you have groups of people who can access information, who can literally circumvent that work and end up at the end of the race to head you off. And understanding that you are in dispute with finite resources, which is your energy, which is your time and attention. Because when you do that, that level of energy at these protests drain people. You have to recover. If you've ever been to political events, if you've ever been to these community events, these board meetings, all of these different things, you feel drained. It takes a level of energy that you have to replenish. And this is on top of your life and everything else that goes in tandem with being able to participate and exist in the society that we are currently in. So words matter because you all have to decide whether you are truly against kings. Are you truly against oligarchies? Are you truly against kleptocracies? Are you truly against any of these institutional or structural frameworks that exist? Or are you pandering to the nomenclature, the colloquialisms that exist to advance your own power? Because people will go to a no kings protest and then on the back end say, well, it is what it is, and we have to play the game that stands. Well, then you acquiesce and only reinforce the very opposite end of the kingship, of the oligarchy. Because as you're doing that, again, if we want to go back to Hoppentopple, on here, I can allow you to set this board and allow you to open doors that I can take advantage of, that I can capitalize on, which is why I also always say sometimes no movement is better movement because you have to reflect, think, sit, strategize. Because continuing to do things for the sake of doing things allows the opposition to strategize. I played chess with my son, right? And I literally won't move for 5, 6 turns. And he thinks that I am crazy. And then eventually I just go on a stream of gobbling up his pieces. And he's like, oh my God, well, how did you do that? Because you don't realize that you're setting up the board and opening doors that allow me to access you in ways because you're exposed. Sir, we have to be very careful. If you believe that you are truly in a fleeting democracy, or however you want to frame it, you need to understand whether you're approaching a circle, a square, or a triangle, because all of those shapes are different. All of those shapes allow and require different stress points, different ways to build in them. For all of my business people who love, got to get the bag, LLCs and corporations are different for a reason. They allow you to advance structurally in different ways, conceptually. And if you want to really understand, you have to learn the ability and capacity to extrapolate. You have to be able to take concepts and put and layer those concepts and transition those into different industries and assess the similarities and see what they are not. Because it's not chess versus checkers. It's chess versus Hoffentopf. Because Hoffentopf, though it is similar, though it shares the same forename, Hoffentopf is not chess. When my son says, let's play chess, Dad, I have to make sure that he clarifies, do you want to play Hoffentopf or do you want to play chess? Because though those are similar things, you cannot just say, well, it's the same thing. No, it's not. Because it's going to require me to pull out different boards. And then different lessons and different strategies are used in other games, whether it be Monopoly, Connect Four, Scrabble. All of these different games require different strategies, require different vantage points, require all different angles, skill sets. The no kings process is futile when you are walking with the court. You cannot walk with the court and think that you are going to undermine the king. The king will not sanction his own downfall. The oligarchy will not sanction its own downfall. It will not permit it. And do not confuse organized chaos with progress. The structure that we're living in will give you organized chaos, organized destruction, organized demolition, where you feel like you are tearing down institutions. Meanwhile, new institutions are being built, new structures are being built, new patches to the algorithm are being built. And you have to see that because you are basically wasting your time, wasting your energy. And I know there's going to be a ton of people who say, well, you got to do something. And what's your solution? My solution is this right now, because I can't organize with people who think that walking with the court is a thing. I can't organize people who, once Jay-Z come out with his little thing, y'all all back on par. I cannot organize with people who do not want to and cannot understand the content that I am trying to uh give, or the topics that I speak on is not doom and gloom. It's not to tear you down. It's not to say not to work hard. It's not to say push forward. It's not to say to live in the best capacity that you should. But it is to say, think about what you're doing, commit to what you're doing, and understand that there is a consequence to either playing the game or not playing the game. And you can't cry about playing a game that's played on top of your head when it does not benefit you. Because I am, quite frankly, sick of it. Either let's just say that you want to be a heathen like the rest of them, and I'm cool with that, and we leave it at that. Stop trying to walk around like you're self-righteous when you just want power for power's sake. The No Kings protest is foolish, and I stand on that. Trump is not the problem. He is a symptom of the problem. Billionaires are not the problem. They are symptoms of the problem. Racism is a symptom of the problem. It is not the problem in itself, and it just expresses a ideological framework that sits at the foundation of the legal framework, the economic framework, the social framework, and perverts it and incentivizes and pre-selects for the worst behaviors in humans. And it distorts our political infrastructure. It distorts our business infrastructure because we're pre-selecting for bad behavior. And you're wondering why, when you get these people who do what they do, that they're sociopaths and psychopaths. Yes, because the infrastructure and the incentive structure is pre-selected for that. Now, you can say it is what it is. Perfectly fine with that. But don't cry to me about any other thing, because it is what it is. Your destruction is what it is. Your oppression is what it is. Your serfdom is what it is. Because when you really talk about it and you really want to get to the real perverted side of how these things move and operate, don't cry to me even about the essay, because that's nothing on a scale of what people are really capable of. If we really want to have a real conversation, it's nothing. Large swaths of people can be deleted and nobody be thought of, because everybody loves to say, and it sounds really good, that, yeah, logic, 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 logic. But when logic is divorced of the body and the spirit of oneself, you get sociopathy. When logic is divorced of the body and the spirits of others, you get psychopathy. So though it sounds good, and please, by all means, chase. I'm not a perfect man. Chase whatever you feel like you need to chase. But my mother used to always say, go ahead, Devon. When you run into that brick wall, you run into that brick wall. And I can't save you from that brick wall. Hopefully, though, you just don't split your head open. But I just wanted to say that, and I want everybody to understand that you have to be specific with your words. You have to be specific with the way you identify things. You have to be specific because in these complex operation systems that we have, specificity matters when it comes to strategizing, identifying things, and not using language that is loose and abstract is highly important. Understanding where words were and how they've changed over time to mean something completely different and how that can be used to co opt, undermine is different. But let me know what y'all think. My TikTok fan gonna get this first. And then, of course, y'all know I'm gonna upload to the YouTubes where I need y'all to subscribe, share, and engage with the content. Because again, I'm not a content creator. I'm just a political scientist trying to use these mechanisms, these tools to build structures, institutions, and ideological frameworks that work not for everybody, because nothing will ever work for everybody, but work for the majority that will stabilize. Because this is not about me. This is not about my sister, the adults in the room. This is about really my son and the kids and his generation and the ones being born now. Because if we continue on this trajectory, they have no world. But go ahead, y'all do what y'all do. Enjoy y'all day, and I appreciate you.